video, I'm going to tell you 5 easy ways to simplify your kitchen. When you have kids under 2, any way you can simplify your life is necessary and appreciated and helpful. So, these 5 things I'm going to talk about are your Tupperware management, your use of quart jars that you get with applesauce, sippy cups in general, analyze your baking dishes, and check out your unused drawers. So we may have a lot of breaks in the video, but that's just because I've had to do several takes because I have 2 kids under 2. Yes, son? I'm talking to the camera. Many of us probably have lots of different sizes of Tupperware, and trying to find the right lid for them has always driven me just completely crazy. And so what I did was, just a moment. Hi. Clint. Hi. All right. Now, go on camera. What I finally did was I got rid of a bunch of my Tupperware and replaced it with the cheapo disposable stuff. And I got 3 different sizes that were very different sizes. And I bought 12 of each size at the same time, so that I know all of the lids interchange with each other. And one of those sizes was a cup size, just a little bitty bowl. That's good for baby food storage, either in the fridge or in the freezer. The other one is, I think, a quart flat one that's really good for leftovers, so you can have a tower of leftovers and just take the whole stack out and eat them. That's good. And the third is standard, what I think of as the lunch meat bin that holds the same amount as a quart, but it's just a different shape. What I did with my old Tupperware is, if it wasn't, microwave and damaged and that kind of thing, if I didn't throw it away, then I did just store it back someplace else, so I didn't feel like I was throwing away perfectly good things. And some of it's out in the garage in storage, and probably in a few months I'll decide that I am willing to part with it, and it is now trash. Others I keep for when I want to send leftovers home with somebody else. I send them one of my mismatched ones, send them home with that. So that's another way they get out of my house. But yeah, I have no problem with just putting a bunch in a big Xerox box and sticking it someplace and waiting until I feel like I need to use them again, or I can get rid of them. So now I'll show you how I have mine stored down here. Okay, here are my cup size containers and all of the lids that go with them. I just got a random bowl and just filled it up. Okay, here are all my flat ones, flat quart size, that stack oh so well in the fridge. And here's all the lids for them. I took one of my bigger bins that I didn't have a lid for, and that's just where I store all of those. Think of as lunch meat size, and that's these. And all of these lids match as well. And a lot of times there'll be those sitting there with the lids in here. There'll be those sitting in there with the lids in here. But the lids are such very different sizes that you're not going to get them mixed up. See what I mean? Okay, now I need to go see what's up with the baby. I also use quart jars for a wide variety of things. And I found out... I figured out a while back that all of my applesauce jars and all of my spaghetti sauce jars had the exact same lid on the top. So I started keeping just those jars and recycled all my other glass jars. What I use these quart jars for is any kind of liquid leftover. Or, like right now, my baby, my 6-month-old, is eating, very, very liquidy baby foods. And so when I make those in the blender, I put them in just a quart jar and put them in the fridge. And just regular quart jars. And then I keep all the lids in just a cup. And any of the lids fit any of the jars. And here's the applesauce shape. And where's the other one? Well, I don't have one of the spaghetti sauce ones right now. It's in there with, it has leftover tomato soup in it. I also keep a quart jar of chocolate milk in the fridge at all times, so that I can mix up a good bit of it and fill up his sippy cup as I need to, and shake it up real easy, and it just saves me a lot of time. Other things I keep in quart jars. Here's one of my quart jars. It's I'm keeping jelly beans away from the kids. In that one, I'm keeping leftover stew in another. Any little thing that you've got a lot of around, like caps to water bottles. We keep a few in a quart jar around here someplace. You can also store like rice cereal in one of those. Lots of other things. They're just handy to have around. Here's my other son, Thomas. Say hi. Another thing I've simplified is the sippy cups. I got really tired of having, even just 3 different sizes of sippy cups and lids and that kind of thing. And also then my son chewed through all the nipples on his sippy cup. We had these kinds, and he's just chewed through all of them, so they now all leak massively. And so what I did is I went to a different type of cup completely. I went to a different type of cup completely. He's 2, and so this is just, I found these at the dollar store for 50 cents. I brought some of them home, tested them out, and then the next day went back and bought 6 more. So I have 8 of these, and instead of trying to keep them in the cabinet or sitting upright where they like to fall over all the time because they're top heavy when they're empty, I keep them in the drawer underneath my stove. So there's the drawer under my stove, and I keep all of the incredibly leaky ones, which are still good for water. And there's one baby bottle in there, and I just got all of these others out of the wash. And so when you get them out of the wash, you can just chunk all the pieces in there. Did you even see that? You can just throw all the pieces in there, and then you can fish them back out later. And it really does save me a lot of time. Another thing to think about when you've got 2 little kids under 2 is I found that I needed a lot more cabinet space for all of a sudden, or I was really tired of dealing with a huge stack of like baking dishes that I always needed the one on the bottom, it seemed like. So what I did was I went through and thought about how often do I really use any of these baking dishes, and if I didn't use it that often, I stuck it way back in a back cabinet where it's still there in the kitchen if I need it, like at Thanksgiving or something like that, but it's way out of the way. So as a result, I've got like 3 baking dishes in my cabinet over here that I use on a regular basis, and I don't have to mess with all those others in the whole huge stack. The cabinet looks emptier, which makes it look neater. I did the same with my cake pans and muffin pans and stuff like that, and just got rid of a bunch of my cake pans. I didn't get rid of them. They're in storage either out in the garage or here in the kitchen, but for my everyday use, I send all that stuff out. So you might want to think about making yourself some more space that way. The last thing that someone mentioned to me, who knew my kitchen, was that I had several unused drawers, and I needed to put those to good use. Well, I had always thought those drawers were too small, or I needed them to store this thing, which I don't use anymore since I'm not going to work. Like, I don't need a whole drawer for brown paper bags anymore because I don't take a brown bag lunch anymore. So I reanalyzed all of my drawers and thought about what do I really use and what do I not. I stored a bunch of the stuff that I don't ever use, and so now I have 2 places to keep like big serving spoons, like this kind of thing, and a spatula and that sort of stuff. I have a drawer that holds the long ones that hang down too far over the stove, and then I have a bunch hanging above the stove as well. I analyze which ones I actually need and which ones I never use. Do I use a potato masher? I've never used a potato masher in my marriage, ever. I've been married nearly 10 years. I can get rid of it. It's okay. Analyze your other drawers and your cabinets and stuff that you don't use. Just get it out of the kitchen. And if you just use it twice a year, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Easter, that kind of thing, put it in the loft. Put it in storage someplace in another room where you can get to it and you remember where it is. If you're storing something big like your turkey roaster in some other room, you may want to write on a Post-it note where you stored it and stick that on the wall of your cabinet. Like tape it to the inside door of the cabinet, for instance, or the floor of the cabinet, someplace where it won't get scraped off, though, so you remember where you put it. So those are my 5 easy ways to simplify your kitchen. And just to review, that was simplify your Tupperware, use quart jars for just about everything, Simplify your sippy cups. Just get rid of the ones that you can't always find the parts to and that sort of thing. Analyze your baking dishes. See if you can store some or get rid of some. And check out your unused drawers or underused drawers. Like you could use that for a better purpose than whatever you're using it for. So those are my 5 tips. I hope you enjoyed them.